Hey, it's Kaylee. You know me as the Parts Girl, and I work here at PartsEdge. Thanks for following this awesome journey as we highlight thought leaders and trailblazers, share best practices in fixed ops, and cover success stories of how dealers sell more parts and service. This is the PartsEdge podcast with Kaylee Felio. Hey everyone, welcome to the PartsEdge podcast. I have Arlene with Dominion DMS. I'm super excited to be interviewing you today because I have so many questions. This is I don't think I've actually interviewed someone at a DMS provider before, so I'm excited. So welcome.
Well, thank you. And I'm really excited to be here too. We're excited about the new partnership with PartsEdge. I think it's really going to give our dealers some more options. So, we're excited to get to know you guys better and your application and hear more from our dealers as to why they're selecting it.
Yeah, I am too. And I want to kind of start with, actually first kind of just let everyone know what your role is with Dominion, and then just kind of give us that little background real quick.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm Arlene Clements, Vice President of Business Development. I've been with Dominion DMS a little over 6 years. I joined shortly after Vue had been released. Vue DMS is our DMS system. We had a legacy system, and then we built Vue DMS from the ground up. And my role is business development. Is I work with third-party partners like PartsEdge and integrations and those relationships, looking to make them deeper. We also work with OEMs around integrations and how we can make things for our dealers better, more efficient, and some other strategic relationships.
So I'm gonna throw you a curveball because I know I sent you a couple questions, but I thought of something as you're describing this, and I would love to dig into how you guys are so much different than other DMS providers in regards to integration. Because I'm just gonna be blunt with it's not easy. I think everyone knows this, right? And no one really talks about it. It's not easy. So how's your approach different than the other ones out there? And because you guys are different, what type of results are you seeing? Because this is the dealership's data in a way. That's the biggest thing with the DMS providers, and they're holding the data hostage and making it really hard to integrate. So I'm just laying it all out there.
No, you're absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. When I said we had other strategic relationships, we also work with the state associations who battled those legal courtrooms about whose data is with the dealership several years ago, and the states won. So want to talk about why we think we're different is we were built from the ground up, and we built from the ground up. We said, let's make this a modern open platform, right? And provide the dealers with APIs. And rather than us creating those APIs from scratch and they're all custom to us, we use the STAR standards. If you're familiar with the STAR standards, many of the OEMs also use STAR standards. So when you do that, when we work with many of the partners that we work with, they're already familiar with it, right? And it's a cooperative relationship between us and STAR and that partner. And when we find, so that you can have growth, right? Because you're going to continue to find better ways to integrate, deeper ways to integrate that maybe the OEM hasn't used yet. And that's how those STAR standards were built. We'll go to the STAR organization and say, hey, we'd like to have this data endpoint added to the API. Can you do that? And they will do that. And then we'll have that standard and we'll implement that. So working with the standard has really helped us. Working with APIs that are real time. So often, so many of the integrations are not real time, right? They're pulling data once at night. It's read only, meaning that you only get the information in, and then you have to print a report and analyze it. So ours is real time, and it can be actionable behind the scenes with that information being bi-directional. So I know we might dive into some of that later on, but that's like a huge difference in our system is we are open. We don't restrict the data. And another thing is we're a core DMS. And by being a core DMS, what we mean by that is our system is the accounting system, the parts system, service, sales, and F&I. And we don't get into those niche applications like a PartsEdge. We're that we're that infrastructure layer, that foundational layer, or operating system, sometimes we call it. And then you can integrate to us. So we're not going to compete with those third-party vendors that we partner with. So dealers can select whoever they think is best in class in the market for their dealership and integrate it and have that information talk seamlessly as though it's the same system without having to switch back and forth.
It's such a huge deal. Like I just, I've been with PartsEdge for 12 years. I don't even know. I can't keep track anymore. It's been a long time. And just hearing you guys, and then the fact that we have this integration is just so incredible because trust me, we've talked through it. And where I feel like we're a little bit different than other third party vendors is that we have to write back into the system. We have to be able to
Mm-hmm.
change sources and look at the full, and it just saves so much time to be able to go back into the system for the parts manager. So it's such a big deal. And I had a question and I forgot it because I was so excited. I do that all the time. Um,
I love it.
but that's why it's like this is just a conversation. We're just talking about this stuff where I feel like what you guys have done is incredible and I don't think people realized. I think where I was going to go with it was it's such a disconnect when you sign up for something and it does not integrate. I I'm going to share a story because I live with someone that works at a dealership and I'm not going to share any of the details of what provider it is or anything, but they went to something and he's in fix ops and it does not integrate with parts. So it's making his when he does orders, when he does everything, it's like making his job so much harder. And then it's like
Mm-hmm.
upper management isn't really like doing it, so they don't see it.
Right.
And it's like, oh my gosh, it's such a nightmare. And I'm only sharing this because I literally have to hear it. And I feel
Right.
so bad.
Well, I feel
But
like when I was thinking in my head through the questions you had given me, like anytime you say manual entry, right? Anytime that number one, it drops lowest on my priority list, right? Like it's like I'm going to get to that later after I do the stuff that's easy or automated, right? I'm going to work on the things I want to work on. So if you have to take a report and look at it and make it changes in your system, and it's probably more on a monthly basis than it is on an immediate basis, you know, number one, you're not making the changes that are going to help your business right away. It's going to be well after the fact, like retrospective. So,
yeah,
anyway,
that makes a difference. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and then it goes into like, okay, so parts is often most overlooked, hence why there's not really like any integrations out there for parts. They're always working on it.
Uh-huh.
But why was it important for Dominion to invest deeper in this integration around inventory management? Like what opportunity? I know we were kind of pushing it, but like what did you guys see and why did you guys really make it possible?
I mean, well, there's specific problems in the parts department, right? Like we saw a consistent dealer pain point. There's so much capital tied up in the parts inventory, obsolescence, manual processes. Dealers have a significant amount of capital just sitting on the shelf, but many of the tools that are there, they don't actively optimize the inventory. They look at historical information and it's limited to like manual review or being reactive after the fact, right? So what really stood out for me about PartsEdge and what you were asking us to do with you on the integration is you don't just analyze the data, you operationalize it, right? Like you take that information and you turn it into daily guided action that can really improve those turns, reduce that obsolescence, and it frees up the dealer's cash, which is so important. Like they worry about it so much about contracts in transit on the front end.
Yeah.
But so many dealers in my years, and I've been in automotive for more decades than I'd like to say, um, they don't worry about that obsolescence sitting on shelves, right? Like that becomes, you lose the ability to return to an OEM if you don't do it in time, right? Or you overbought and you only have so much credit that you can send back, you know? So I think this is really an eye opener of how you can improve your cash flow, how you can optimize, because all this also impacts customer satisfaction, right? And service absorption rate and so many things that are important in the dealership.
Everything is connected to parts.
Everything.
It's so
I,
connected, and they're so like not supported. It's just
Well,
crazy.
it's the old parts is parts, right? Oh, parts is
Yeah.
parts. It's just going to run. Like I go there, I get the part over the back counter, or a customer comes in and buys the part. But it's not parts is parts. There's a huge difference between manually changing your settings every once in a while when you think about it, like, it's in, and then while I'm ordering, like, maybe I should just get one more of those because it seems like we've been having a lot of cars come in for that recall instead of listening to the system, right? Instead of listening to all the analytics that you're running in the background and making those changes scientifically. It's just, you have to take human nature out of it and just let PartsEdge run.
Yes, I love how you said that. You described it in such a unique way, and it's almost like a thing that's kind of hard to believe. When I hear people describe it, I think of like I put myself out of me because I know it's able to happen, and I put myself into a parts manager's shoes, and they're like, "Oh, there's no way. There's no way this is possible." But it is. And like too, it is, yes, you kind of have to remove the human nature, but you still need a really good parts manager to be engaged with us and to work with us to make those tweaks, because I say the best parts managers we work with dig into us, and not dig into us, but like dig into the details and the settings and how can they really like change with their market, because we don't have a
Hmm.
magic wand to understand your market. We can only set it up to understand your market, but it also needs you to kind of work with us and be creative with the way that you're stocking parts. And this integration just makes it so much easier because, sorry, I'm talking a lot, but I'm just so
You're
excited about
good.
it.
No, no. And the great thing is together we're solving a real dealer problem, right? And it's done in a way that reflects our long-term platform strategy from a Vue perspective, that our system is open and we allow you to access all that data in real time. And we're both focused on the profitability for that dealer. The efficiencies, everything else.
Yeah, and not making it harder to integrate so that it's like the job makes it so much difficult when you're not integrated.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh,
Because you can put that data back in too,
yeah.
which I think is a really key, the bi-directional. So
Yeah, and I think that's probably why there's so many vendors out there, because you can't put it back in. So you have to have your software and you have to have another login, and no one wants another login. Like I understand like we have a portal, of course, and like we have our reporting, but they don't have to log into that portal to to do their job per se. Like it's a
hmm.
reporting, like to show them details. The being able to write back into the system executes what needs to happen. So like that's the
Right.
difference between like when I look at other solutions out there, I'm like, you have to log in to use it and make it work. We are like, you don't have to remember what button to press. It just does it. And
Right.
so,
Exactly.
yeah,
All behind the scenes, depending on what you set up and the parts manager set up.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where you guys allowing that writing back into the system, maybe we'll have not less vendors out there. That's not the right thing to say, but like less things to log into.
Hmm.
Right? I mean,
Yes.
isn't that,
Yes.
yeah. There's so many questions I didn't get into because this is what happens. Like I do prepare, so like people are listening. I do think of questions, but I never fully ask them because when we start talking, it just happens. What would you like to add to like, is there anything I've missed that you really want to shout out or talk about as far as your guys's platform and just like the bi-directional API access, how that's changing the game? I mean, we kind of really tied into that, but
I
what would you like
know.
to
I'm
add?
like, we kept jumping around.
Yeah.
I mean, do you want to just ask me the questions you had and I'll answer them? You can clip and cut as you want and put it together.
Okay, so basically I'm going to make a note to like edit what we just where we just were, and then I'm just gonna kind of wrap us up. Arlene, so what are you most excited about as we're heading through 2026 and into 2027 with, and how long has Vue been? Like how long has, because I know you guys created it from the ground up. I don't think people realize like how when you guys established it or launched it.
We initially launched it, a very controlled launch just to our legacy DMS customers back in 2020. We released it at that NADA right
Okay.
before the world stopped, right before COVID hit and we shut down. But we released it then and
Yeah.
first
So it's like
converted.
a baby. The
It
baby
is
right
a
now.
baby. It is a baby. We
Yeah.
didn't have, we're you know, privately held conservative company. We released it first to our legacy customers and converted them over and felt like we made it very stable and ready to go after other DMS's customers and convert them to our system. So yeah, we've been
That's
there a
steady growth.
while.
Yeah.
Yeah, steady growth, with great acceptance from the market and building those. There's a lot of things when you release a DMS that you first have to do. You have to get those OEM certifications. So we were working on that. And then you also have to get all the third parties like PartsEdge, right? Because we are unique in that we tell our dealers, like, pick your tech stack that you want. Who would you want to integrate with? We'll integrate with everyone bi-directionally through our APIs in real time. And so we had to build those hundreds and hundreds of integrations. And that took some time too. So even as new players come out, we'll integrate to them, right? A dealer will say, hey, I'd really like to add this new XYZ tool I've seen. Can we do that? Absolutely. I didn't do a good job answering that question. Sorry.
No, you did.
Um,
You did
okay.
great.
I was going to say it, close it up. So we've been out here since 2020, growing and expanding our ecosystem of partners and OEMs. And we look for future growth through with PartsEdge because I think we're addressing a real need in the market.
Yeah, I really do. And it's been great partnering with you guys and then seeing what you guys are doing with other vendors in this space and just integrating with no problems because like we said, we're trying to make everyone's job easier and we don't want to add more time to people's jobs. They don't want to double entry stuff, manual entry, like they just want it all to work. So what you
Exactly.
guys are doing is awesome and I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah. Hey, a quick question for you. So
Yeah.
I am familiar with PartsEdge at a higher level. What are you guys doing with AI?
Oh, that's a good question. So we've been working with AI for a while now. We've been very what's the word? I guess conservative with sharing because it's like when AI really started coming out, not coming out, when people were really adopting it and using it, they were putting it in everyone's name. Like everyone had
Right.
AI this, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So we held off on like really sharing it, but we're working with training AI. That's the biggest thing. It's not so much using it, it's more so training it and to really think in the parts way that we think and just training it with all the data and analysis and I could probably get into so much detail with it but I don't want to right now. But the biggest thing and one thing that we did launch in our portal was and it was more so operationally the AI narratives. So like training it to
Mhm.
really provide that analysis of what's actually going on with the inventory because that was a lot of manual work on our part and we've just
Right.
kind of we streamlined that just recently actually. So that's one way.
Awesome.
Thank you for
That's
asking.
great. Yeah. Yeah. So
All right. Thank you so much for coming on the show. You don't have to leave. I'm just saying bye.
bye now. You were just saying bye on the camera.